that's cracking apart.
And out of any volcano, the top three gases are number one, water vapor, then carbon dioxide.
In this video, we uncover a series of shocking new discoveries across Canada, hidden beneath ice, deep underground, and even under the ocean. Scientists have detected ancient settlements older than recorded history, mysterious geological heat rising below the west, and entire ecosystems thriving in places once believed lifeless. These findings don't just rewrite Canada's past, they raise urgent questions about its future. And what researchers are seeing now has begun to change how we understand the continent itself. Canada is changing, not slowly, but rapidly. 2025 has become a year of revelations, where the ground, the water, and even the oldest glaciers are releasing secrets hidden for thousands of years. From ancient villages preserved underwater, to newborn volcanic heat stirring below the mountains, to ghost forests emerging from melting ice. The landscape is speaking, and we're finally listening. Stay with us, because the final discovery may reshape the future of North America. Chapter 1. Recent Discovery. A 9,000-year-old underwater village beneath Lake Huron. Beneath the cold blue waters separating Ontario from Michigan lies one of the oldest archaeological sites in North America, and until recently, no one knew it was there. What appears now to be open lake was once a grassland corridor, a land bridge that connected ancient communities long before the Great Lakes formed. Researchers exploring the Alpena Amberley Ridge used high-resolution sonar and deep water divers to reveal what they first thought were just scattered rocks. But under careful mapping, the stones formed distinct hunting blinds, arranged in precise patterns. Nearby, they found carved tool fragments, fire pits, and fishing structures, perfectly preserved beneath thousands of years of freshwater silence. This was not a temporary camp, it was a strategic settlement used to hunt migrating caribou and fish traveling across the ancient landscape. The architecture reveals planning, cooperation, knowledge passed down through generations. The most astonishing part, the site is 9,000 years old, older than the pyramids of Giza, older than Stonehenge, older than most civilizations commonly taught in school. But the discovery didn't just rewrite timelines, it confirmed something deeper. Indigenous oral histories had already described a great land and hunting grounds beneath the lake. Science is now validating stories that were preserved for thousands of years, through memory, language, and cultural tradition. Today, the village remains hidden underwater, untouched, protected by cold and depth, a time capsule of life before the world we know, and it forces us to ask, how many more chapters of our past lie buried just out of sight? Chapter 2. Recent Discovery. A deep earth heat zone rising beneath Alberta. In the heart of northern Alberta, where the land appears flat, stable, and ancient, scientists detected something no one expected. Heat rising from deep within the earth, slowly moving upward through layers of ancient rock. This wasn't volcanic activity, no lava, no eruptions, no earthquakes strong enough to draw attention. Instead, the discovery came from subtle seismic signatures, low-frequency tremors detected by a network of underground sensors. These tremors were unlike typical quake patterns. They pulsed slowly, rhythmically, as if something immense was breathing beneath the crust. Seismologists traced the source and confirmed it. A mantle plume-like heat zone is pushing upward beneath Alberta's Precambrian Shield, one of the oldest and hardest rock formations on Earth. The heat is melting deep mineral layers, altering magnetic signatures, and changing the way seismic waves travel through the crust. That means this isn't just a local anomaly, it is structural, geological, active. What makes this discovery urgent is what sits above the rising heat. Major energy infrastructure, densely populated communities, and one of the world's key freshwater networks. If the heat continues to rise, it could reactivate ancient volcanic fracture zones, change groundwater temperatures and flow paths. destabilize deep rock layers previously believed immovable. In other words, the foundation of Western Canada is not as still as we once believed. But perhaps the most fascinating part is how old this heat zone may be. Geologists now believe it could be a remnant from volcanic activity over 100 million years ago, slowly returning to motion after an age of silence. The Earth remembers, even when we forget to listen. And now the land beneath Alberta is speaking again. Chapter 3. Recent discovery: a hidden lava tube network on Haida Gwaii. Off the rugged northern coast of British Columbia lies Haida Gwaii, a place where rainforest meets ocean cliffs, where mountains rise sharply from the shoreline, and where the land holds one of the richest cultural histories anywhere on Earth. But in late 2024, a group of coastal geomorphologists and local Haida guardians made a discovery that changed everything we thought we knew about the island's volcanic past. While mapping sea caves along a remote stretch of coast, researchers noticed a series of tunnels that didn't match the usual erosional shapes carved by waves. These passages were smooth, winding, and patterned with flow textures, the unmistakable signature of ancient molten rock. What they had found was a volcanic lava tube system, preserved since the islands were volcanically active thousands of years ago. The deeper the team went, the stranger the findings became. Inside the tunnels were charcoal fire rings, shell middens and fish processing sites, obsidian carving flakes, and fragments of carved paddles shaped for open ocean travel. This was not an empty cave system. It was a shelter, a workshop, a coastal meeting place, built into the land itself. Haida oral histories have long spoken of places where the earth opened and offered refuge during storms, migrations, and changing sea levels. These stories were passed down through generations. Now, science is tracing their footprints through stone. The discovery confirms something far deeper than archaeology, that early coastal peoples were not simply surviving. They were navigating, engineering, voyaging, and shaping the ocean landscapes with intention and skill. This network may stretch far beyond what has been explored so far, potentially connecting shorelines, cliffs, and ancient migration routes, now partly beneath the Pacific. The caves were never lost. They were simply waiting for us to remember. Chapter 4. Recent discovery: mysterious sonic booms beneath Manitoba's frozen lakes. In the quiet expanse of northern Manitoba, where winters are long and the lakes freeze into glass-like stillness, communities began reporting something that did not belong in the silence. A deep, resonant boom, like thunder trapped underground, echoing beneath the ice. At first, people thought it was ice cracking, a natural sound, nothing unusual. But then the booms repeated, sometimes minutes apart, sometimes in long rolling pulses that seemed to move across the lake like distant footsteps. The sound wasn't random. Hydrophones, underwater microphones, were placed beneath the ice to record the phenomenon, and the recordings revealed a startling pattern. The sound was coming from below the lake bed. Researchers traced the source to vast chambers of methane gas rising through thawing permafrost deep underground. As the once frozen soil softens, ancient carbon stores, sealed away since the Ice Age, are escaping back into the atmosphere. But the methane isn't just leaking, it's building pressure, forming pockets and domes under the lake floor. When that pressure becomes too great, the methane bursts upward, reverberating through the water and ice in a shockwave, the sound heard as the boom. This discovery is not just geological, it is climatic. It is a warning. Methane is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide in trapping heat, and its release means the Northern Carbon Vault, one of the Earth's greatest natural climate regulators, is weakening. The lake didn't just make noise, the lake spoke. And what it said is simple: the Arctic is changing, faster than we are prepared to understand. Chapter 5. Recent discovery: underwater methane towers rising off Newfoundland, far out in the cold Atlantic, where the continental shelf slopes into darkness. An expedition using remote-operated submersibles made a discovery that stunned marine scientists worldwide. They weren't searching for life. they were searching for geological faults. Instead, their cameras revealed enormous mineral chimneys rising from the seafloor, some over 40 meters tall, like ancient towers built in total darkness. But these structures weren't stone monuments, they were alive. Each tower released a steady stream of methane bubbles, rising like white smoke from the ocean floor, and clinging to the towers, feeding on the methane itself, were dense colonies of microbial life, clumps of organisms thriving where sunlight has never reached. This wasn't supposed to exist. For decades, scientists believed life required energy from the sun, but these organisms were living off chemical energy from the Earth's interior. Entire ecosystems, worms, crabs, starfish, strange translucent fish, gathered around the towers, forming a hidden world powered by methane instead of sunlight. It mirrors the ecosystems found near volcanic vents in the Pacific, but this is the North Atlantic, in cold, nutrient-scarce waters once believed barren. The implications are staggering. Life can flourish without sunlight. Life can evolve around chemical energy. Life can emerge in places we never thought to look, which leads to the question scientists are now quietly discussing. If life can thrive here, in the frozen deep ocean of Newfoundland, could it also thrive beneath the icy oceans of Jupiter's moon Europa? Or in the methane seas of Saturn's moon Titan? Sometimes, the answers to the universe aren't found in the stars. They're waiting in the cold, dark waters of our own world. Chapter 6. Recent discovery: rising magma, detected beneath Mount Meager. Hidden deep in the coast mountains of British Columbia stands a peak that most people have never heard of, Mount Meager. But to volcanologists, the name carries weight. This mountain produced the largest volcanic eruption in Canada in the last 10,000 years, an explosion so massive it sent ash as far east as the Great Plains. For centuries, Meager slept. Snow gathered on its ridges, forests grew in its valleys, and people assumed the danger was gone, buried in time. But in late 2024, something changed. Seismic instruments began recording low-frequency tremors beneath the mountain, the kind associated not with tectonic stress, but with moving magma. At the same time, scientists detected an increase in volcanic gas emissions, especially sulfur dioxide, a signature chemical released when magma rises toward the surface. Then came the thermal scans. Satellite data revealed a heat anomaly spreading through the volcanic plumbing system, subtle but unmistakable. The magma chamber wasn't dormant, it was warming. This doesn't mean an eruption is imminent. Volcanoes can breathe for decades before changing the world around them, but what concerns researchers most is the mountain's structure. Mount Meager is not a solid fortress of stone. It is fractured, unstable, prone to landslides, the kind of terrain where heat and pressure can trigger sudden collapse. If the magma continues to rise, two outcomes become possible: a hydrothermal explosion, sudden, violent, without warning, or a large flank collapse, sending millions of tons of rock into nearby valleys. Either event could send ash downwind, floods downriver, and shockwaves across the region. The silence of the mountain is not peace, it is pressure without release. And now, Meager has begun to stir, not as a relic of the past, but as a reminder of how alive the Earth really is. Chapter 7. Recent discovery: a newly active fault. Beneath the St. Lawrence Valley, stretching across Quebec, from Montreal toward the Gaspé Peninsula, the St. Lawrence River appears calm, a broad, shining waterway connecting Canada's heartland to the Atlantic. But beneath the riverbed lies a fracture that scientists believed had been dormant for thousands of years, until now. In late 2024, seismic networks began detecting a chain of microquakes, too small to be felt, but unmistakable in their pattern. The epicenters lined up in a long, clean arc, the trace of a fault system deep underground. This fault is old, older than the Appalachian Mountains, older than the river itself. A relic from when continents collided and tore apart, and now, for reasons scientists are still working to understand, it has begun to move again. The tremors are accompanied by changes in ground uplift and subtle shifts in magnetic alignment, signals that stress is accumulating in the crust. The region above the fault is home to millions of residents, major transportation corridors, hydroelectric power infrastructure, and the St. Lawrence Seaway. A rupture here would not be like the catastrophic subduction quakes of the Pacific coast. Instead, it would be sudden, sharp, violent, the kind that comes without warning. The earth beneath Quebec is not silent, it is turning in its sleep, and when it wakes, the river valley may not look the same. Chapter 8. Recent discovery, a vast sinkhole beneath Lake Superior. Beneath the cold expanse of Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake on Earth, sonar teams mapping the lakebed found something they did not expect. A vertical shaft descending into darkness. Over 200 meters deep, perfectly cylindrical, walls lined with mineral deposits formed over immense spans of time. A freshwater sinkhole, preserved since the glaciers retreated. Inside, researchers found something extraordinary. Microbial colonies living in complete darkness, water with unusual chemical signatures, oxygen levels lower than anywhere else in the lake. This environment is alien, isolated, ancient, untouched by surface ecosystems. The microbes here do not rely on sunlight. They feed on sulfur, iron, and dissolved minerals rising from the earth below, which means life can sustain itself without the sun, without plants, without the surface world. This sinkhole is more than geology. It is a window into how life may have looked on Earth billions of years ago, or how it may look on other planets today. The oldest stories of life are not written in fossils. They are alive, waiting in the dark. Chapter 9. Recent discovery, a connected magma network. Beneath the coast mountains. For years, volcanologists treated British Columbia's volcanoes, Meager, Garibaldi, Cayley, as separate systems. But new seismic tomography, using waves from distant earthquakes to image the deep earth, revealed something astonishing. These volcanoes are not isolated. They are connected by a shared deep magma reservoir, a hidden corridor of molten rock extending for tens of kilometers beneath the coast mountains. Meaning, movement in one volcano can transfer pressure to the others. This discovery changes the entire risk picture for Western Canada. It suggests volcanic awakening is not local, it is regional. Magma is not rising evenly, it is rising in pulses, like a heartbeat deep in the earth. The mountains are not separate peaks, they are one organism, sharing heat, pressure, and memory. The question is no longer if one volcano wakes, it is what happens when they respond to each other. Chapter 10. Recent discovery. The Arctic shelf is slumping off the coast of Nunavut. Far in the Arctic, north of mainland Canada, satellites monitoring the seafloor made a disturbing observation. The ocean bottom is collapsing in slow motion. Entire sections of the continental shelf are sagging downward, forming long depressions in the seabed. The cause is chilling. Warming ocean temperatures are destabilizing methane hydrates, frozen crystals that trap massive amounts of methane beneath the seabed. As the hydrates melt, the sediment loses structure. The seafloor slumps, quietly, steadily, unstoppably. This is not just geological, it is atmospheric, because the methane released here will not stay underwater. It will rise, into the currents, into the atmosphere, into the climate system. The Arctic is not melting from above, it is unraveling from below. The ice is thinning, the seabed is weakening, the carbon vault is opening, and once it opens, there is no closing it. Chapter 11. What these discoveries mean for Canada's future. When viewed one at a time, each of these discoveries seems isolated. An archaeological surprise here, a seismic signal there, a shift in ice, water, or stone. but together they reveal a single, consistent story. Canada is not static, it is dynamic, it is changing, and always has been. The land is still moving beneath our feet. Volcanoes that once seemed silent are warming again. Ancient trade routes, villages, and ecosystems are resurfacing as ice and water retreat. And the deep geology of the continent is still adjusting. Slowly, quietly, continuously. None of this means disaster is imminent. It does not mean eruption, collapse, or crisis tomorrow. What it does mean is awareness. Understanding the landscape for what it truly is, a living system shaped by pressure, temperature, water, time, and memory. The more we learn, the more we realize how much remains unseen. Entire ecosystems thriving without sunlight, ancient human settlements preserved under lakes and glaciers, fault lines and magma networks that extend farther than once believed, carbon reserves stored in ice and ocean that respond to warmth. Canada's story is not only in its history, it is in its ongoing transformation. And now, as science advances and the land reveals more of itself, we have an opportunity to listen, to study, to prepare thoughtfully, to understand the places we call home with greater clarity and respect. The Earth is not finished shaping Canada, and Canada is not finished shaping us. If you found this exploration meaningful, consider staying with us as we continue to follow these developments. There is much more to learn, and much more still hidden beneath the surface. Subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this ongoing story. And if one discovery stood out to you, or raised questions, share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective is part of this conversation, and the conversation is just beginning.